Chamge mising chitab kalenjin amang ole chamegei eng olda tugul ole itesetai inyorune tugetab Kass TV eng betut nebo komut kasi tarik 9 arawetab mut eng kenyit noto nebo 2025. Kakoit kasarta nebo logoiwekab emet cheitun eng tetutiet noto neichame mising nebo Kass Mashinani neitun kongete nguni kongete studio nebo Kass TV asome ketestai tuwai eng kibagenge kainenyu ko Bernard Koech. Kitaune taonitab Nairobi ole kakoesho serikali logoiwek chekotestai koletagei kole kokorosana tetutiet nebo kemut barnotikab emoni koba kwai boisionik chebitunotin eng emotinwek cheterter chebo sang. Kamwa sirindet neo eng ministry nebo Labour Shadrack Mwadime kole tesetai komie tetutienoto ole kong'ololi ine eng kiwanjetab ndegeisiek nebo Jomo Kenyatta International Airport eng taonitab Nairobi eng kasarta nekoisoi sireti neranik 30 chebendi kwai boisionik chebitunotin eng emetab United Arab Emirates. Kosubkei ak Shadrack Mwadime kokikobit walet neo mising ak bandab tai eng kwenutab familia chekikoba lagokwai kwai boisionik eng emotinwekab sang ako unoto komawendi le serikali eng tetutienoto.
I want to refute claims that have possibly gone out there that this particular program is not succeeding. You can see we are flagging off young people on a daily basis going abroad, not only to the Gulf countries, but also to the Western European countries. Last week, we had a number of young people going to Germany. We are already having discussions also with Italy, with the former Eastern European bloc, so as to ensure our young people gain employment in this international labor market that is opening up afresh for Africa of our young people. We have conducted pre-departure training to appraise them on how they should conduct themselves while they are out there in the countries of destination. This is deliberate because we have a brand to protect. And the brand that we are pushing for is that our young people are energetic, they are disciplined, and they are hardworking. The Youth Enterprise Fund. We began a conversation with the chair of the Youth Enterprise Fund, who is here with me, about 3 years ago, when we started pushing for this program to succeed. Initially, it was in the maritime sector, the seafarers that we wanted to access the international labor market in the maritime sector, and a number of them have been able to benefit from this program. We don't want any young person to go back to his or her parents to request for funding in order to be facilitated to access these jobs. We want them to procure loans from the Youth Enterprise Fund. We have encouraged them to repay these loans within the shortest period possible, because this is a revolving fund and other young people need to benefit from the same. We appreciate the fact that they have extended it further to even other young people who are accessing different jobs in the Western European countries and other countries. And I want to commend them. The management is here, the CEO is here with us. I want to commend them for the way they are working efficiently to ensure that these young people within a short period of time are able to access these loans. As you all know, these are government loans, and therefore even the interest rate is very low in comparison to what is offered in the market.
Here to indeed confirm that the government commitment of getting jobs for the young people is true, and that commitment has ensured that we have several ecosystem players in it. The work of the Youth Fund within that ecosystem is to ensure that the young people are financially facilitated. Our loans attract only an interest of 8%, which is very, very low for the young people, and the repayment is very flexible. We do not want these young people to pay within a very short time. We give them up to a maximum of 300,000 Kenyan shillings, and the repayment period is when we have so far financed 450 young people with a total of over 1.4 million Kenyan shillings. You do not only need Youth Fund for finances, you also need us for pre-departure training and also preparing the young people to travel and what they expect out there.
Ketestai ak logoiwekab emet ko kaindochi kamunitab Minet Insurance tetutiet nebo kolsetab ketik cheitei 20,000 eng timdo nebo Uplands nemite komasta nebo Lari eng county nebo Kiambu. Kamwa afisaya neo nebo kampuninoto Sami Muthoi kole makat eng biik tugul chebo emetab Kenya kotuyokei ak koib kakwautik chekimen chebo ribetab itonwekab emet cheboto kolsetab ketik eng chongindo eng imbarenikwai. Eng komastanyi komwa Deputy County Forest Conservator nebo Kiambu County noto ko Joseph Masharia kole makat eng biikab emoni koistogei yautik chemoiyonotin chebo tiletab ketik ngenyoru ng'alaletab kandoichoto aeng.
Kenya, we are actually currently losing over 84,000 hectares every year to deforestation and 14,000 hectares, over 14,000 hectares to degradation. This is equivalent to hundreds of football fields vanishing each year. The drivers of this loss, what causes the losses, is agricultural expansion, because obviously our population is increasing, commercial logging, charcoal production, and the growth of human settlements, among others. It is actually estimated that the country loses about 534 billion shillings every year due to deforestation. So the urgency for this cannot be overstated. So what is the impact of deforestation? These losses go far beyond just losing trees. Deforestation leads to, first of all, a sharp decline in biodiversity, an increase in soil erosion, and we all know what soil erosion does to our crops and to our agricultural output, and land degradation. Deforestation actually also causes a reduction in carbon sequestration, accelerating climate change, because trees are very important in the climate change, in the agenda to reverse the climate change that has been taking place. So Kenya is already feeling this. We all know as Kenyans what has been going on. We have recurring droughts. We have recurring floods, famines, landslides, all of which are undermining our nation's food security and livelihood. Today, 34.5% of our population is actually undernourished. And that is not just a statistic. It is a humanitarian crisis which calls for urgent response because of lack of adequate rain, lack of climate change, and lack of adequate arable land. So we at Minet Kenya, we have made a commitment because we are not going to stand idly and watch this happening. We've made a commitment, and as a risk advisory firm, we deal with insurance, we deal with risk. We see the threats clearly, and we can confirm that climate change is not a distant risk, but a present and growing reality. We see it in our business. We see it when people claim for floods, when people claim for climate change related risks. So it is actually an immediate and urgent need.
Kenya, we are among the low forested country. Our forest cover is under 10%. If you look elsewhere, there are countries with over 70%. And the importance of forest cannot now be debated. And this is the reason why, as Kenya, we took that commitment of raising our forest cover, not just about 10%, but even more, by planting over 15 billion trees in the next 10 years. And this call is being led by none other but His Excellency the President. And as you would understand, planting 15 billion trees is not a small job. It's a very huge task. And that is the reason why the approach that we are taking to achieve our target is through this kind of partnership. The private, the public, the community partnership, that's the only way we shall achieve that very ambitious target. If each and every one of us, the 50 million plus Kenyans of us, plant 30 trees in the next 10 years, we shall have reached that target. That approach, we are calling it the whole of society approach. Each and every Kenya ako na kazi yake kidogo. Just 30 trees per year in the next 10 years. This ambitious goal tutakuwa tumeachieve.
Yakitestai ketokyinigei komasta nebo State House Nairobi ole eng nguni kotesetai tuyet nebo Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry ole mitei kandoik cheterter eng ikorata tesetai eng State House kondojini President William Ruto ako chito nokere kong'ololi nguno ko President nebo kibagenge noto bo Kenya National Chamber of Commerce Dr. Eric Ruto.
For businesses and industries that are attaching students not only when they finish their year of study, but part of that allocation you allocate to TVET, Your Excellency, is that you can allocate it in terms of tax benefit for the businesses and factories that attach students from year 1 to year 3 or until they finish their degree, Your Excellency. And that one will move away from voluntary dual training to incentive-based, and finally, when we learn from our German chambers of commerce, it is mandatory for businesses to be able to attach students for them to get their annual licenses. Our proposal to those challenges, Your Excellency, as I come to conclude, is that to fast-track the clearance of the pending bills of 626 billion. We know you floated an infrastructure bond of around 400 million USD. We are proposing that Kenya government can float a special corporate bond or even a pending bill bond. What will happen, Your Excellency? Immediately, you will get back 20% in terms of taxes. Secondly, the banks who are patron members who are here, the non-performing loans will go down. There is going to be a stimulus economy in the environment, and therefore will move away from the reduced liquidity that we have in Kenya right now. On tax regime review, I know currently there is a finance bill that has been approved by Cabinet that you chair. We propose for SMEs a tax regime review to cap the turnover tax at a maximum of 0.5% with no additional VAT or corporate tax for the small and medium enterprises. You'll definitely see them paying more. We are also proposing a tax holiday of 2 years for startups. This, we have studied the Indian economy for startups, and we want fast tracking of the startup bill. And currently, India is the #1 country that churns out the highest number of unicorns or companies that have turnover of over $1 billion at currently around 130 billion. And I think we can count a dozen of that for Kenya. So if you give us those tax holidays, 2 things will happen. 1, growth. Secondly, you'll formalize the SMEs. On access to government procurement, and this our members have really stated, Your Excellency, that we want your government to be able to reserve contracts of over 5 billion Kenya shillings to Kenyan-owned companies. And I want to insist, Your Excellency, Kenyan-owned, not Kenyan-registered companies. And I know the challenges that usually comes with that. That currently, there are very few companies in Kenya that can be able to undertake such kind of volume of government contracts. And this, from our study, is that for the last 22 years, the access of Kenyan companies, especially in terms of contractors and suppliers of goods, has not been fair. And even currently we are seeing as low as even 500 million being accessed by locally registered but internationally owned companies, Your Excellency. And for these companies to be capacitated, Your Excellency, we are proposing the establishment of a construction guarantee that will go into a construction bank, so that the main challenge that we have engineers, consultants who are highly trained, who are working for these international companies. We propose that we have a construction guarantee and a construction bank letter, so that these companies can be able to access and they can be able to complete the projects that you give them up to 5 billion, Your Excellency. Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary and the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Mudavadi, we signed an MOU with Burundi Chamber. The President of Burundi Chamber told me that Burundi now is undergoing reconstruction. When they finish elections next month, they are going to reconstruct their parliament. They are going to reconstruct their palace. I can see it's going on here. And he told me he wants me to get Kenyan companies with capacity to be able to undertake those projects in Burundi that is being supported by IMF, World Bank, and other multilateral loans. It will be a very big challenge for me to get indigenous companies. Your Excellency, we have to build our Kenyan companies because Africa is looking at us. And actually, the Chamber President of Burundi told me, in terms of significance, he is number 3 in the country. And you can guess who is number 1 and number 2. And for us also to build the industries, because we have analyzed the environment, only 15% of the turnover of the manufacturing sector is owned by small and medium enterprises. 85% is owned by the large companies and majorly multinational companies. And this is for the last 60 years. We are proposing, Your Excellency, that as you proceed to develop infrastructure, the roads, water, kindly capitalize Kenya Industrial Estates, Kenya Development Industrial Corporation, Agricultural Finance Corporation. And I would want to invite you to a study that we've done in the world leading powerhouse in manufacturing. In 1989, there was a similar incident in China called Tiananmen Square, and we had it last year. When the population was told, and the private sector, we want you to develop the country, they didn't have capital. They started Agricultural Bank, they started Construction and Industrial Bank, they started development banks to give credit to the private sector in that country. And when we study, majority of the companies that come from that country, Your Excellency, were formed between 1990 and 1991. And currently, they're global companies. We would want to invite you, as Kenya National Chambers of Commerce, to modernize these institutions so that we can be able to grow Kenyan companies that can be able to compete globally in terms of access to credit. And we have done, we shall be demonstrating shortly as Kenya National Chambers of Commerce. We are currently issuing collateral-free, low-interest single-digit loan with support from MasterCard. We call it Jinwe program. And I'd like to appreciate my predecessor, Richard Ngatia. Thank you very much. It started during COVID time. He's mentored me. Recently, we have trained over 31,000 micro businesses. We have issued 26,000 with loans across the country of 400 million. I would like to give you 2 examples, Your Excellency. In Samburu, there's a lady called Doreen. She owns a company called Genco. She exports beef from goats. We gave her 14 million. She was able to redistribute the 14 million to 300 women to buy goats, fatten them for between 1 month to 3 months, Your Excellency. And over 1 year, she has managed to increase her turnover to 6 tons weekly, and in terms of money, 63%. I want you to think in terms of your agenda of increasing exports. The challenge was getting quality goat meat. She didn't have money to give to the women who are her suppliers. Her suppliers were given money in advance for 3 months to fatten the goats. She has increased her turnover by 63%. Currently, we are exporting 1 trillion. If we have a credit system to the exporters, we can be able to increase our 1 trillion exports to maybe 1.6 trillion and reduce the trade imbalance in terms of traders and goods. In manufacturing, we got a young lady from my city, and thank you for coronating Eldoret City as a city. She was working in one of the industries that closed. They manufacture plastics. She was trading in groundnuts. We gave her 7,000. 1 year, 3 months ago, she started.
Chotajitab Kalenjin ko pichainik chebo agenge kong'ete State House Nairobi ole tesetai tuyet nebo kibagengeitab mung'aret ak bandab tai noto nebo Kenya National Chamber of Commerce ole mitei korata President William Ruto ak kandoik cheterter chebo serikali ako eng komalo kewektegei komasata sikepchin ng'alalutik chebo kandoik alak chemitei eng tuyonoto bo Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. Akot kunoto ko kakobarasta kompunitab Safaricom melekwokik chetesotin cheite silingishek bilionishek 69.8 chebo kenyitab mung'aret nebo 2024-2025 kosubkei ak CEO nebo kampuninoto bo Safaricom Dr. Peter Ndegwa kokolany melekwokik chekonyor kampuninoto eng koitetab kebeberta 11.4 anan 11.4% ingekerchin ak kenyit nekosirtoi ole kotestai kolany kastomaek chekoboisie M-Pesa ak boisionik alak cheikoitoi kampuninoto bo Safaricom.
We had a strong and healthy business and have recorded growth across all key metrics. We have exhibited strong customer engagement and innovative spirit, reflecting on our Safaricom spirit. Ethiopia has performed greatly, continuing to drive commercial momentum and contributing close to 10% of our group revenue and now starting to become very accretive. And this is despite significant foreign exchange reforms. We have successfully transitioned to our next strategic cycle and charted we have successfully transitioned to our next strategy cycle and charted our next strategic framework. This framework will enable us to achieve our vision of being Africa's leading purpose-led technology company by 2030. The board has resolved to recommend to the shareholders at the forthcoming general meeting in July a final dividend of 65 cents, Kenya cents per ordinary share. This brings the dividends payable for the financial year 2025 to 1 shilling and 20 cents per share, equivalent to 48 billion Kenya shillings.
Since launching our 2025 vision in the financial year 2021, we have attained remarkable group revenue growth by 47.8% or 8.1% on a compounded annual growth rate basis, from 251 billion shillings in 2020 to 371 billion shillings in the financial year 2025. That shows you how strong the company is and how quickly it bounced back from the effects of COVID. Other companies are still struggling. Isn't it a superb achievement? We have invested heavily during this period with an average group capex of 73 billion shillings yearly. Investing in network infrastructure has enabled us to increase capacity and improve customer experience. During this period, we supported Kenya as the tech partner of choice in delivering major public sector programs in social protection, health, agriculture, financial inclusion, amongst others. Our entry into Ethiopia 3 years ago is bearing fruits with a sustained commercial momentum and network growth covering approximately 50% of the country's population. Most importantly, during this period, as you have heard from Peter, we invested close to 20 billion shillings and touched over 13 million people with programs and initiatives across education, health, economic, and environment. Very impactful, right? We have also remained a leading corporate citizen, contributing over 678 billion shillings in taxes and annual license fees during the 5 years period under review. Not many can even be claimed to be close to these numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, this period was not without its challenges. The board acknowledges the various efforts by management in navigating the tough macroeconomic and regulatory hurdles both in Kenya and Ethiopia. Specific to the period under review, the board noted, amongst others, the reputational brand erosion, competition threats from traditional and emerging players, and the increased regulatory scrutiny in both markets. The board is happy with the countermeasures employed by management. Well done.
Yakitestai ak logoiwekab emet ketokyinigei county nebo Embu ole kakoitita county noto minister nebo ribetab kalyet eng emet orit Kipchumba Murkomen ole indochini tetutik cheterter chebo anan tuyoshek chebo ribetab kalyet eng komasata bo Embu ak komoswek alak choto chebo Eastern ole eng karonetab rani koimuch kong'ololji sirikab logoiwek eng komasata bo Embu ako kaimuch kong'alale tetutik cheterter chetinyegei ak ribsetab kalyet eng emetab Kenya. Ngepchit ng'alaletab Kipchumba Murkomen.
We come back. And I want to say that part of the discussions we are going to have here is to see how we can leverage on community support. I want also to ask local political leaders not to interfere with operations that are dealing with arrests and apprehension of alcohol distributors. There has been complaint that in some situations and the chiefs who are involved in matters enforcement. We are also going to assistant chief who involves themselves in any kind of, and we are going to be very open and honest with ourselves. We have, as a result of spirit CSS, that we want all our police stations to become center of excellence in community engagement and working together with the society, getting the support of the community to resolve issues that are affecting us. Our police station is a community facility. It is not a place of terror. It's not a place of scaring people. We want to remove the old image of when people look at a police officer, they see fear. We want them to see a police officer and see safety, peace, and good working relationships, so that we must deal with issues like corruption and so forth. So when we say that we want to strengthen our Ngao institutions on the ground, it is to make it people-centered. It is not possible. I see some people are a bit scared that, oh, you know, when there is a close working relationship between the police and Ngao, that, oh, there will be a season of terror. I think those are people who are living in past constitutional order. It is not possible in the present Kenya to have anyone terrorizing anybody, because through our constitutional order we have high levels of accountability. No minister, no MP, no president, no police officer can be able to oppress any citizen of this country without facing the law and without facing high levels of accountability. So when we speak about bringing police officers to work closely with the administrators for law enforcement, we are not doing so to terrorize anybody. We are doing so to strengthen a relationship between administration, the police, and the people, because these are their institutions. They pay taxes. That's why I want to see OCSs who are even being rated by the people on the local area by the way they work together. That's why I spoke yesterday and said we involve our communities in even enhancing our security architecture, including through NGCDF and other initiatives, community businesses, business community, to help us even enhance infrastructure and build, construct infrastructure through CSR. That way, people will remove the mentality that security sector is shrouded in mystery and fear. It must be people-centered. I want to see, if there is something I will be very excited to see in our country, is people-centered police stations where the OCSs are gelling with the community. Kwa hivyo tuko hapa kuhakikisha kwamba hiyo kazi imefanyika na uhusiano mzuri umefanyika kati ya askari wetu, machiefs wetu na wananchi, na kwamba police stations za Kenya imekuwa ni police station ya wananchi, sio ya serikali. Serikali kuwe, mkiona polisi kwa nyumbani huko, sio tu unaogopa, unaona kwamba unapata, kuna amani, kuna uhusiano nzuri, kuna kuishi pamoja. Hiyo ndio nia yetu. Ukiona tukisunguka kwa jukwaa ni ili tusikilize mawazo na maswali ambayo wananchi wanatutolea, ili kwamba turekebishe sehemu ambayo tunaona kwamba tunakosea wananchi, na ili kwamba Wakenya waanze kuangalia sekta hii ya security kama ni sekta ya huduma, sio ile sekta ya kuleta uoga. Lazima ilete uhusiano njema, na uoga tu yenye tunataka kuona ni uoga, ni wakora wote wakiona askari wakuwe na uoga, lakini Wakenya lazima wakuwe na furaha na waone kwamba wana uhusiano mzuri sana na security wetu. Na kwa hivyo nawaomba wananchi sana tushirikiane kupambana na pombe haramu na kupambana na madawa ya kulevya. Tunahitaji support ya wananchi, na sehemu hii tunataka kusema kwamba tunaomba wanasiasa wote pamoja na viongozi wa tabaka mbalimbali wasaidiane na kuhusiana na kufanya uhusiano nzuri na askari na pamoja na machifu kupambana na pombe haramu. Asante sana.
Asante sana. Uhaligani waziri, jina langu ni Laban Shaban kutoka NTV. Nataka nijikite pale pa swali kwamba ulisema kwamba hizi takwimu za uhalifu kwamba zimeshuka, japokuwa kuna hofu miongoni mwa walioathiriwa. Ukiangalia siku za hivi karibuni, ndani ya siku 10 ambazo zimepita, kumekuwa na mashambulizi ambayo yanadaiwa kutekelezwa na wanamgambo wa Al-Shabaab. Ikianza kule Lamu tarehe 6 ambapo Boni Forest polisi 5 walifariki katika hayo mashambulio na wengine kuumia, na tarehe 29 Aprili na mwezi uliopita pia kulikuwa na shambulizi ambalo liliwaathiri wachimba migodi katika eneo la Burabor, Mandera East, Mandera, na wengine walijeruhiwa, wengine wakaponea 13. Jana gari la polisi pia lilikanyanga kilipuzi katika barabara ya Algarera kuelekea Dadaab, japokuwa polisi 3 waliumia. Kuna hofu kwamba kuna haya mashambulizi yanaibuka resurgence. Sijui hali iko vipi na mikakati iko vipi katika idara?
Kwa yale mambo yanahusikana na usalama wa boda yetu, nataka niseme kwamba tuko na multi-agency team ambaye tangu ile operesheni ya kumaliza mambo ya Al-Shabaab katika boda yetu na tangu tuingie upande ule wa Somalia, hiyo imekuwa challenge kila mwaka. Lakini ningependa kusema wanajeshi wetu pamoja na polisi wetu wana uhusiano nzuri ya kupambana na mambo ya ujangili, na ningependa kusema kwamba ijapokuwa mnasikia takwimu inayohusiana na, kwa bahati mbaya, askari wetu ambao tumewapoteza, ningependa kusema kwamba takwimu nyingi zaidi tunazo inayohusu kumalizwa wale majangili wa Al-Shabaab. Ukiona kwamba kwa bahati mbaya tulipoteza askari wetu kwa muda uliopita kidogo, lakini walifanya kazi nzuri sana, na hiyo kazi nimerudia mara kwa mara, kwa sababu Wakenya wengi hapo awali miaka 8 hata miaka 7-8 iliyopita tumekuwa na mashambulizi katika jiji na barabara zetu na sehemu zingine, lakini kwa sababu ya kazi nzuri ya askari wetu unaona kwamba tumedhibiti hawa wakora na tukahakikisha kwamba wanabaki katika mipaka pale, na kwa bahati mbaya saa zingine wanaingia nchi, na tunawashukuru sana wale wananchi wenye wanaishi sehemu za boda yetu na Somalia kwa sababu ya uhusiano nzuri kati yao na askari wetu pamoja na NPR pamoja na machifu, ili kupambana na hawa majangili ambao wanajaribu invade nchi yetu. Kwa hivyo tusiweke sana umaarufu ile casualties ambao tumewapata, tujue ya kwamba wao pia tumewaangamiza wengi sana, na ya kwamba tuendelee kupatia support askari wetu na kuwaombea na ili kwamba hii vita itaendelea kwa muda mrefu sana, kwa sababu hadi wakati ambapo Somalia itakapopata uongozi wa kutosha na serikali ambayo inaweza kudhibiti sehemu yote ya Somalia, tutakuwa na hii challenges ikiwa tunaendelea, na sisi the equipments, support our police, kuendelea kuwa comprehensive data and information as to what we are doing to protect our country. This is a sensitive issue that requires a high level of responsibility on every part of us. Sometimes we amplify the success of the enemy without looking at the success of our men in uniform. And it is the collective responsibility of every citizen of this country to together support our security officers as we combat this enemy who has not been really contained in their own country. There are many challenges that are facing Somalia. The ability of their country to control all parts of the nation, the ability of the team, the UN team and the AU team in that place to destroy this enemy, and the challenges, the dynamics of global geopolitics that continue supporting different kind of terrorist groups like Al-Shabaab that give us challenges as a country. But even then we must pull together and protect our border. And as I said earlier, we continue investing in equipment to make sure that we protect our officers and protect our country.
Asante sana waziri. Ulitaja pia suala la wale viongozi wa mitaa pamoja na polisi kushirikiana ili kuweza kufikia ufanisi wa kuleta usalama. Pia swala hilo liliibuka manake gavana pia wa Mandera alikuwa amesema kuna vile vidokezo vya ujasusi ambavyo vinatolewa na wakazi, polisi wanatepetea katika kujibu hizo ili kuweza pia kukabili.
Rais na ni kweli kwamba wajasusi wetu wanafanya kazi nzuri sana na ripoti inawafikia na kwa hivyo singependa tulaumu askari wetu. Yale ningesema hapa ukweli ni kwamba gavana wa Mandera na viongozi wengi wanatusaidia sana, na SWA ni mmoja, gavana wa Mandera ni mmoja ya viongozi ambao anafaa kusifiwa kwa ukakamavu wake na kwa ushirikiano wake na wananchi kuhakikisha, na serikali pia na polisi wetu kuhakikisha kuna usalama. Na kwa hivyo I just want to say that the Governor Khalif is one of those leaders that we are very proud of his record in working with the police officers and supporting us, and I believe that despite the frustration he has about the intelligence report, we have also the same intelligence report, and sometimes the enemy changes tact last minute, and so in some cases
Natajitab Kalenjin ko Minister nebo ribetab kalyet eng emet orit Kipchumba Murkomen nekong'ololi eng karonetab rani eng tuyet nebo Jukwaa la Usalama Forum noto netesetai eng county nebo Embu. Koyekatestai ak logoiwekab emet ketokyinigei county nebo Elgeyo Marakwet ole eng kakwautik chetokyinigei ribetab Kaptagat ecosystem ak Elgeyo Marakwet county komugul ko tesetai eng nguno eng komasta nebo Kapkoi eng Keiyo North tetutiet nebo roptaitab keswek chebo chaik koityi kabatikab komasata. Indojini korata sirindet neo eng ministry nenomu rabinik Dr. Chris Kiptoo ole botokei ak PS noto nebo irrigation Fantas Kimotho ak ketokyinigei nguno komasata eng oretab agenge asikepchin ng'alalutik chetesetai ole eng nguni kong'ololi MP nebo komasta nebo Keiyo South Gideon Kimayo.
Every 1,000 liters is going to employ as much as 95 people. And Your Excellency, and those are the numbers. Your Excellency, I would like to show you a case of one of the cooperatives that has undergone digital transformation. And that cooperative is called Tuya Cooperative in Kapseret Sub-County. Your Excellency, before the intervention of technology and digital transformation, that the cooperative used to aggregate a total of 1,700 liters daily. But 8 months later, Your Excellency, we have
Choto chitab Kalenjin ko pichaisiek cheitun agenge eng agenge kong'ete komasta nebo Kapkoi eng county nebo Elgeyo Marakwet kobate kisome nyoitab kat kikere kele tomo kochulak sautit kobate kimache kenyoru kamung'et nenwach ko ye kiwege kunyiketesetai keipchini it ng'alalutik chetesetai eng tuyonoto indojini PS nebo Treasury Dr. Chris Kiptoo.